Batman and Moon Knight, two of the most intense vigilantes in comic book history. Now, on the surface, these guys seem like they'd have a lot in common, both being rich, both being mysterious, and both operating in the shadows. But in all honesty, trust me, if these two ever crossed paths, it wouldn't be a friendly encounter. In fact, I think Batman and Moon Knight would absolutely hate each other. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why that's my opinion. Before we get into the video, if you guys do enjoy it, please make sure leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you guys can't get caught up with any of the other videos that do be posting on this channel. Most of the content is fairly nice, so just have my word for it and just like check around on the other videos and see if you guys like any. But with all that said and done, let's get into the video. So, first off, let's talk about the methods that they have specifically when it comes to crime fighting. Batman, as we all know, is the ultimate detective. I say this anytime I talk about him. He is all about strategy, preparation, and using his brain over brute force. He has a strict no-kill rule, which is pretty much his golden standard. On the other hand, Moon Knight, well, he's a little bit, let's just say, not as concerned with the whole holding back thing. He's brutal, he's violent, and he doesn't have a problem with the whole getting his hands dirty thing, or even specifically bloody. Batman would absolutely despise Moon Knight's lack of restraint. And I mean, like, Batman tries to bring criminals to justice while Moon Knight at times just is more ending in terms of like full finality on specifically what he does to his villains. Now, this next point is a big one: mental stability. Batman is deeply scarred by his past, but he has managed to maintain a very decent control over his emotions and his mind. His discipline is a cornerstone of who he is. Moon Knight, on the other hand, is, well, specifically Moon Knight, if we're being fair, and he has the thing specifically with his multiple personalities and his struggle with mental health issues, which makes him a little more unpredictable. Batman would see this as not really like a more like, if he would see this as a liability, yes, because there's just three different people or however running around in the same head, but it would be more along the thing of he strives on control and precision. Having somebody as volatile as Moon Knight would just drive him absolutely bonkers. And it's not just the personalities either. Moon Knight sometimes gets driven around by his god, Khonshu. That religious devotion makes him even the more harder to pin down. For Batman, that kind of unpredictability would just be absolutely irritating and more so dangerous in his own head. Now, let's talk about how each of them deals specifically with authority. Batman, while being a vigilante, maintains an uneasy alliance with the GCPD. He respects certain boundaries and, despite everything, works within a moral framework that aligns with justice. Moon Knight, though, this guy does not care about maintaining relationships with the law whatsoever. He is often just doing his own thing, taking down enemies in the ways that would make Jim Gordon's head absolutely just spin. For Batman, that is a massive red flag. He'd view Moon Knight as reckless, someone who makes things worse just by breaking the rules way too specifically much. And if you guys think I'm specifically being hard on all of these things, this isn't really like too far of a actual big speculation or just a big thought in my own head. When we see how Batman just goes around and deals with like even people that he truly cares about and their like aversion to specifically breaking his no-kill rule or not like having the best mental stability. Like, if we're specifically talking about if Moon Knight was a character in Batman's like world, Batman would just most likely send him to Arkham in almost any specific chance. Well, he would at least attempt to, because mental instability and a good portion of Batman's specific rogues and villains would be more categorized as that. So I see them having more of like that kind of relationship where Batman just thinks Arkham would be a decent place to send him. And if we're being honest, that's just really how my head is really orchestrating this entire thing. Now, another point of attention that I honestly really truly see would be Moon Knight's devotion to Khonshu. Batman, as we all know, is a man of science, logic, and facts. He is about as far from religions, as far from a religious person as you can get. Moon Knight obviously is driven by his connection to an Egyptian god. That alone would make Batman not really completely uncomfortable, but just a little more distrustful. He'd see Moon Knight's belief in Khonshu as specifically irrational, more likely due to the fact of, well, having belief in a god that you can actually see. Yeah, makes a little sense if we're going specifically in Batman's headspace, but the way that Khonshu usually operates and moves is usually not the best and not the most heroic. So Batman would more or less hate that specific part about Moon Knight having this actual true connection to somebody like this specific god. The fact that this god is not the most morally just or morally correct kind of person to be in cohorts with. Now, let's moving on to another topic. When it comes to something like fighting styles, Batman's is about all around just complete control. He has mastered about every form of martial arts and knows how to neutralize his opponents with absolute precision. Again, Moon Knight is a little more different. He is more of a wild card. He's erratic and unpredictable in battle, which, while effective, can also create just complete chaos. Batman's strategic mind would see Moon Knight's fighting style as more as reckless and dangerous. And yes, while specific personalities of Moon Knight have a decent combat training, it would still be a little different because he's just switching through 3 different combat styles and just a couple different things at almost any given point in time. It's just the difference between how it would be a chess player and somebody flipping the board over mid-game every single time. They're just completely locked into this perfect battle. He switches personalities. The fighting style completely changes. Batman has to readjust and figure out exactly what's going on to a good portion of the things. Now, obviously, another thing that, and probably the most important thing that we would be talking about, would specifically be Batman's no-kill rule against Moon Knight. I keep accidentally saying Moonlight. Do not know why, but Moon Knight's brutality. This is where their real moral clash would come in. Batman's no-kill rule, the foundation of his entire code. Even when fighting the most vile criminals, Batman refuses to cross that line. Knowing specifically for him, if he crosses that line, he's not coming back. Moon Knight has no such problems. In fact, he is shown being far more ruthless and taking out enemies with almost extreme prejudice. If we're just talking about the Moon Knight show, we have the entire scenes of just bodies upon bodies stacked and him just completely going out and creating complete havoc. This would be an absolute deal breaker for somebody like Batman. The entire amount of brutality that he is willing to show, with specifically people some of the actual minds and one of the minds in his head. This would be a very big situation where that brutality would just be something Batman couldn't really reason with. This wouldn't be normal levels of brutality. This would be more along the lines of, this actively doesn't seem like it should be normal, and it doesn't seem like you can actively consider yourself a hero if you're going to be doing things like this. It just wouldn't make sense in anybody's head to try actively thinking out this is going to work perfectly fine. This is how all of this is supposed to work. We're all fine. It just wouldn't add up in specifically Batman's head. Now, the final thing that I want to talk about, Batman specifically having a natural distrust over anything outside of the realm of logic or reasoning. Moon Knight's connection to Khonshu, again, might make him powerful, but to Batman, it would also make him more dangerous and unreliable. Batman thrives on calculated decisions and carefully thought out plans. Moon Knight's methods, influenced by his gods or his other personalities, would seem too random or erratic for Batman's liking. To Batman, it would feel like Moon Knight's just constantly one step away from going off the rails, and sometimes, most specifically, he closely very much is. So, Honestly, could I actively see them working together in very rare circumstances? Maybe for a brief moment in a world that is like extremely as dangerous as they have to do, but long term, absolutely not. Their differences in approach, personality, morality is just way too specifically vast, and Batman's strict code and need for control would be constantly challenged by Moon Knight's unpredictability, violence, and devotion to a god. In the end, these two would be more at each other's throats than anything else, and I don't see Batman tolerating Moon Knight for extremely too long. But that's really my take on why I specifically think that they would absolutely just hate on each other. But honestly, put down what you guys think in the comments below. Could they ever set aside their differences, work together, or are just mainly going to stay enemy-esque people, like frenemies, because they are technically both hero-esque anti-heroes or whatever? So there is a possibility of them just needing to work together for a specific occasion, but please put that down in the comments if you guys have any specific thoughts. But with all that said, this is where I'm going to be leaving the video off, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.